Grace and peace to all of you gathered for the big homecoming celebration at Zion United Church of Christ in Henderson, Kentucky this weekend. I wish that I could have been with you in person, but alas, much of this week and weekend coincides with the fall meeting of the National United Church of Christ Board, and I'm expected to be here in Cleveland. Yet I am happy and grateful that I have this opportunity to say hello and send you my love, prayers, and best wishes. For 25 years, as you know, this was the time in October when you traditionally were celebrating Peace with Justice Weekend, and literally thousands of people across this entire country and beyond came to know of you and your good work because of it. But I think you've made a good decision this year to try a new thing. Good for you. Change is not easy, but it is worth doing from time to time, particularly when old ways and obligations start to feel more burdensome than life-giving. I don't fault you for that. In fact, I applaud you for that. I want to share with you that so many people I bump into as I'm traveling across the life of our national church, and especially within circles of justice advocacy, they often tell me that Zion UCC in Henderson, Kentucky has been a source of inspiration to them. Because you are a church that attempts great things at sometimes great costs. You are a can-do congregation that exemplifies the steadfastness of a determined people. And every time I have one of those conversations, and it does happen more often than you would think, people tell me how much this feisty church has given them hope for what their church might be. Because they had heard about you, a small yet mighty band of Christians trying to live authentically, courageously, generously, communally, and faithfully as people of justice and peace in a place not readily associated with progressive religious values. In fact, just a few days ago, I was in Washington, D.C., attending the UCC's Everett C. Parker Ethics in Telecommunications Lecture. It's an annual gathering of unlikely bedfellows, executives from huge media corporations, elected officials, FCC commissioners, justice advocates, academics, and religious leaders, all talking about important issues of media policy, diversity, and access. And while I was there, a new UCC pastor at one of our largest churches in Northern Virginia approached me and spoke to everyone at my table, introducing himself and saying that he had grown up in Owensboro. And while growing up in Owensboro, he said he was so moved and so motivated by this little UCC church 25 miles west of his home called Zion UCC. And he spoke to all of us about the bold witness and impact that this church had all over the region. He said, I didn't think anything that progressive could come out of Henderson. Now, you know me, I'm a good progressive and a proud Hendersonian, so I didn't really like that part, but I knew he was trying to pay us a compliment, even if it was a fumbling one. My point is this: Zion UCC has a deep sense of calling, of mission, and it has for a long, long time, dating back to 1871. And that unique sense of mission and identity and clarity of purpose existed long before God ever called you or me to become part of it. A whole lot of people have walked through those big wooden sanctuary doors, and you and I can count ourselves among the lucky ones. Some stayed for a spell, received what they needed or didn't need, and they moved on. Quite a few moved on reluctantly because jobs or families or school took them elsewhere, and leaving Zion, they said, was the thing they hated most about leaving the area. Others received what they needed and gave back proportionately as they were able or capable of doing. Some died, and some even came to Zion because they knew that they were dying, because they had heard and hoped you would walk with them through that last journey. And you did. Some were and are grieving, hurting, poor, hard to like, much as love, but you did it, and you do it anyway. Good for you, because that bodes well for the church that bears the name of Jesus Christ. Some of you are new to Zion, and some not so much, but all of you are bound together in sacred covenant to be the church, a distinctive kind of church, and you know as well as I that the entire tri-state area would be woefully and sorrowfully lacking in conscience or openness of thought without the non-conformist religious perspective that you bring, the alternative articulation of the gospel that you proclaim. The unique vision, values, and voice of Zion UCC really has made a big difference culturally, politically, and personally, and that's a lot to consider and a lot to celebrate. What does the future hold for that beautiful, historic brick church on the corner of First and Ingram, whose altar remains one of the most beautiful I have ever seen? No one knows. That's not an easy question. And unfortunately, I hear that same question being asked by churches on just about every other church corner in this country. So you're not alone in asking. So since I don't have the answer to that question, let me just conclude by offering this bit of advice. Don't be afraid of some difficult changes or big decisions that may be necessary ahead of you. What's worth preserving, and I hope you will try to preserve, is the unique socio-Christo-political voice with which you speak. Remember the high calling to which you are called. Continue to be that prophet crying in the wilderness for issues of justice, inclusion, accessibility, peace, mercy, and grace, to which God calls you to be that bold public voice. Celebrate lavishly and foolishly in God's grace. If you know the words of the hymn, take your nose out of the book and sing louder than your neighbor thinks you should. Laugh together. Join together in Holy Communion. Remember your baptism. And remember to clean up after one another, knowing that despite what you may have heard, the Christian faith is a communal, not just a personal enterprise. It will survive long after you, but for now it survives thanks to you. Do things well, with attention to details. Not perfect, but as perfect as you can be. Give generously, and I am talking financially, because church matters, and good church really, really matters. And it's worth doing well and bringing our best selves and our best gifts. I love Zion UCC. I talk about you wherever I go. It is my home church, and not many former pastors can say that. You called me and you supported me as an openly gay pastor when very few other congregations would have done so. And I thank you for loving and caring for me, just as you love and care so extravagantly for one another. Hi, Mom and Dad, and hello and best wishes to the rest of my family as well, which includes all of you. Finally, my brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is good, whatever is just, if there is any excellence, and if anything worthy of praise, think on these things, dwell on these things. And the things you have learned and received and heard and seen, practice these things. And the God of peace will be with you. Blessings.